Yes, people, what's going on, everyone? It's Mike back again, and this is your match preview. It's Everton against Roma at Goodison Park. It's great to be back following the last game of the season last season. And this is a game that I'm semi-excited for. You know, pre-season's been a bit weird. I think there's been some performances that have been really poor. The Coventry one still sticks out to me, but it was pre-season. But then there's been performances since then where we've looked better. We've looked tactically more strong. And this is what Dyche did say. He said fitness-wise first few weeks and then tactics-wise the next few weeks. And, you know, you can't argue. I mean, in the last two games, we've scored 9 goals and conceded none, irrespective of the opposition. And I say that because the opposition at the start of the season scored 6 goals past us in, or 8 goals past us in 3 games. So, you know, we looked shaky and not quite up to fitness. Then we looked fairly fit but tactically all over the place. And now I kind of think that we look okay tactically and we appear to look okay fitness-wise. The boys were training at Goodison today, probably in preparation for tomorrow's game, get back ready, used to the pitch again. But I'm sure they would have been on it, you know, before now, and they obviously played the game behind closed doors against Motherwell at Goodison. So, you know, they're not going to struggle being used to being back at Goodison, and, you know, they'll welcome the fans. The fans are keen to get back down there. You know, me, Finley and my wife Harriet, we're all going to be there tomorrow, and, you know, we're really looking forward to the game because it's an opportunity to see some of these players at home in that environment with all 40,000 or 30,000 fans that may well be there for a pre-season game, and just to take it all in, take on what we're expecting for the season to be. I'm excited, and it's a game that I think Everton will go into with a little bit of confidence. It's a game that I think Everton will go into with a bit of a different identity to how we finished the end of last season. I'd argue that the players in certain positions have improved. And I'm excited about what that looks like. You know, I'm excited about watching Jake O'Brien. I'm excited about watching how the midfield can rotate and change and maybe play on a single pivot, whether it's a double pivot, whether you're using players on the left and the right to chop inside and create more width for our wing-backs. You know, whether he's considering doing things like 3 at the back, we'll see tomorrow. I'm just excited to see how we are as a football team. And Roma's a great test. You know, we all know Roma's a great test. Roma are a good football team, proud history, decent fan base, obviously, you know, really passionate fans. And, you know, they're coming to Goodison Park. We had this whole Dan Friedkin sort of thing around the club, and all of that seemed to be in place, and then it doesn't happen, but the friendly still does happen, and it's a weird dynamic, but it's an exciting dynamic because, you know, it's a decent team. It's a decent team. It's not an awful team coming to Goodison Park. It's a good team, and I'm excited for the game. To talk about certain individual players, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing players like Lindstrom. I'm looking forward to seeing players like Ndai. I'm looking forward to seeing James Garner in that middle pivot. I'm looking forward to seeing how Timmy Rabunen does. I'm looking forward to seeing Jake O'Brien, and I'm looking forward to seeing how we lengthen the pitch. So all of the new players, yeah, I'm eager to see. You know, it'd be good to see Pickford as well. He's obviously came back late following his international duty, which no problems at all. You know, absolutely brilliant. And it's just positive. I feel like the club feels positive, and I know there's all this stuff with the transfer behind the with the sale behind the scenes, and no one really knows what's going on. You know, none of us do. But it just doesn't feel as doom and gloom as it felt, say, January, February, March last season. It doesn't feel like that. It feels much, much better, and, you know, I am keen to get going now. You know, we start against against Brighton. Good game to start. It's a tough opposition, but a game that Everton finished joint 12th with them last season in terms of 11th and 12th and goal difference. That was the difference. You know, you can add the 15, you know, they had the 8 points and we actually finished 15th and all that rubbish, but based on merit, there was nothing between Everton and Brighton apart from a couple of goals or a few goals. So going into that game, it's a great test to see where Everton are against where Brighton are. You know, the game last season was a 1-1 draw. So, you know, building up to that first Premier League game, it is exciting. And then we've got a tough fixture, second game, Spurs. We all know that's a tough place. We all know that we've struggled at Spurs in the past. But again, it's a game that, you know, you kind of don't know what to expect because we haven't seen enough of this Everton team. But there's some changes in that Spurs team. And then you've got a home game against, I think it's Bournemouth, which again, on paper, is a game that Everton will want to go into and want to win. So, I'm not saying we're going to start this season incredibly strong. I'm not saying that. But it'd be really nice to get 6 points on the board, nice and early. That would be nice. And I just think Roma's a good test to that, to see where we are. You know, we all saw that Brighton didn't do great in Europe last season, so you can't really compare a pre-season friendly against Roma and Brighton. But it was kind of chalk and cheese. And it'll be interesting to see how that happens. On another side of things, in terms of Everton news, John Textor, the Crystal Palace, I think he's minority, or he certainly doesn't own all of the club. Shareholder is back interested in buying Everton, and I believe has put a bid forward, but it is conditional on him selling his stake in Crystal Palace. Now, if I'm being totally honest, I've read different reports online that said that this stake is, you know, people are really interested in buying it, and you'd kind of expect that because Crystal Palace do look like a team got on the up. They've got a good manager, they've signed some good players, and it looks like they're on the way up. And the infrastructure, the opportunities there, you know, they could have a new ground and all of this stuff, and I'm sure the club would expand, London, all them positive things. So I get that. But he's apparently keen on Everton, who are, no disrespect to Palace, but a bigger club, both in tradition and in terms of fan base, going to the game every week, probably on a global footing as well. So you've got Everton that are in that place. But in terms of liquid cash, we need a lot more than what Palace probably do right now. Partly because we just don't know where the money's coming from to pay all of these things that Everton have all of a sudden got. A lot of the Premier League money is sort of helping us, which is great, but fundamentals are we need to obviously significantly improve our revenue and our structure, and so we obviously need to improve all of those things to make sure that we are going forward. If he thinks he's the man to do that, then great. I like the ambition. I like people that are keen to do that, but it's whether he's got enough money. We've seen the things that he's done in France. You know, he's won trophies, he's brought a winning mentality, which is great. But it's whether he can deal with it at Everton, it's whether he can turn this situation into a positive, and it's whether he's, it sounds silly, but whether he's rich enough. You know, if he's got a similar sort of net worth to Mashiri, I kind of don't see the point in getting involved. So I'm interested to see that dynamic change as well, and I'm interested to see if the Freaking Crew come back in, or Kevin Malone actually steps up and says, yes, actually, I'm gonna put in an offer for Everton. I'm interested to see where this goes, but there is a long period of time now. It's not going to happen before the end of August, but there is a long period of time now before that January transfer window, and this is the opportunity to go and get someone in. This is the opportunity to say, right, you've got 4 months to buy Everton Football Club. And I know it's difficult because we literally spent 9 to 10 months wasting our time with 777. But on the flip side of that, we have an owner that didn't want to invest in us. So 777, I'm almost grateful for, albeit they wasted so much money putting it into Everton that they've destroyed probably their entire business portfolio. I don't quite know how it all works, but they're clearly in a mess. So I'm interested to see what's going on with that. And then obviously we talk about transfers, and there's been a few rumours, a few links. We've been linked with a player called Richardson. I think his name's Amir Richardson, 6'5" centre midfielder. But we were linked very late on. And if I'm being totally honest, I never believed that this transfer was going to happen. And it appears that I think I can't remember where he's going, but he's going for just over £10 million. I don't think Everton were really ever in. I don't think Everton were really ever interested. And if they was interested, they left it late. Which makes me think, I get why we're after a centre midfielder, but I do think we've got enough to cope. Especially with the players that I've seen in pre-season as well, because I think Harrison Armstrong, I think, is a young player that could get minutes in the Premier League this season. My concerns up front, and that hasn't been addressed. That hasn't been addressed. I have major concerns, as you know, with Mulpay, Beto, Chimiti's injured, and Calvert-Lewin. I've got an issue with all 4 strikers that Everton have, and we can't fix that overnight, not unless you bring someone in and someone leaves. I think it'll be interesting to see how much or if Beto plays tomorrow, because I think if he does play, I think he's probably going to be an Everton player. I think if he doesn't play, I think there's a decent chance that he's going back to Italy. So I'm interested to see what happens on that front. And I'm interested to see who starts tomorrow, because I don't think I'd start Calvert-Lewin. I don't think I'd start Calvert-Lewin because he's not looked bothered. And if I'm being brutally honest, I don't get the impression he wants to be at the club. And I feel like it's a waste of a position that Everton needed to get right this summer. And I don't think they have. So if he stays and he signs a contract, then yeah, I'm cool with the minutes he's played pre-season and all of this. But it would not surprise me if we get to, say, November and when we've not scored anywhere near the amount of goals we should have, and you sort of home back to this pre-season and you do go, why didn't we try and do something there? You know, even when we tried to sell Calvert-Lewin to Newcastle, it was for the winger in Minty. So I'm not quite getting that. Everton need a striker. Now, part of this Beto deal is potential that there's a player coming in the other way in Brahim Toure, who's a good player. I like him. We've been linked with the Sanatina striker, Dia. I'm personally of the opinion that if we can get someone that scored goals in the Premier League, we probably should. I get that's challenging, but there is strikers out there that are available. I think Eddie Nketiah is available from Arsenal. I don't know if he'd say yes to Everton, but that would certainly be a player that I would look at. Callum Wilson on loan from Newcastle, and if Calvert-Lewin wants to go the other way, then 15 million, fair enough, I'm fine with that as well. But I actually think the strikes in the Premier League at a club which is traditionally, as of right now, slightly bigger than those clubs, and his name's Richarlison. Now, we know Richarlison does not want to leave the Premier League. We also know that Tottenham don't want Richarlison and are currently signing Dominic Solanke. Would you be surprised if Everton signed Richarlison on loan? Because I'm telling you now, I don't think I would. And I don't think I would be surprised if there was an option to buy in there. And I think I'd be all over it. I think I'd be all over it. And if I was Everton, if I was the owner right now, if I was Kevin Thurwell right now, I think I'd have been on the phone to Spurs and said, right, can we make this happen? You know the issues that Everton have got. We know you've got a player there that wants to stay in the Premier League, wants to stay in the UK, etc., but isn't going to get minutes for you. What can we take him on loan? Can we do something? I would be really interested to see how that worked, because the wages are there. The wages are there. If you sell Michael Keane or Mason Holgate, there's half of his wages. You know, Mason Holgate's on 72 grand a week. Michael Keane's on something like 100 grand a week. There's his wages. There's half of it. So I'm sure Everton could make it happen. You know, in terms of the other players that are left, Andre Gomez, Everton's wager was about 12th or 13th in the Premier League. There's got to be room in the scale that we're going. For me, that's where I would be. I would be any of them three strikers. I'd be all for. I think Nketiah costs you 25 to 30. But I think he might be going to France. Is it Marseille, Lyon? I can't quite remember, but I think he's going. Callum Wilson, I don't quite know what's going on with Callum Wilson, but he's definitely a player that I admire and I like personally. And if there's opportunity that Calvert-Lewin goes to Newcastle and we get him, I'm not against that. I'd prefer Isak, but I'm guessing that wouldn't happen, obviously. And that kind of leaves Richarlison. And that, I could see that happening. I could see Richarlison happening. I could see Richarlison happening, and I could see Richarlison being a player that walks us into our new stadium next season. So, we'll see. Look, we'll see. I'm not down. I'm not doom and gloom. I'm genuinely excited about the future, and I'm excited about how we can achieve success together. But I think the key thing is here, and the key metric that needs to be followed is we are where we are this season. And I think next season, once all of this dust is settled and we know the future and we know the owner and we've got the stadium and we've got all of these fantastic plans, you know, I think we've got Amrax dealing with the catering. I mean, world's leading. You're going to have Guinness and Asari on draft and all sorts of magical stuff. That's positive. The club as a global sort of centrepiece for Liverpool is going to be massive. It's such a big opportunity. Everton commercially have got it wrong in the past and they've got to get it right this season, which is why we've got to sort out the owner, because the owner leads from the top. He leads from the top down. We've got to get it sorted ASAP, because the longer Moshiri's in charge, the more chance he is of going wrong. Guys, it's been a pleasure as always. I'll see you tomorrow. I am sitting in the paddock. If anyone wants to come and say hello or have all sorts, you know, whatever, let's have a chat. Let's have a bit of banter, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.